Let me take you back to summer of 2022. I've just come back from an incredible holiday in Indonesia with my mates. And my mate is sending me photos from the trip. These spectacular looking photos of the holiday that we had. But looking through the photos, I can only think one thing to myself, which is, shit, my hairline's fucking gone. So for context, this is what my hair looked like in the 2 years before that trip. And I knew that I was going to lose my hair, but seeing these pictures felt like a slap in the face. A sign that I was losing my hair at a rapid rate. And this was the start of a journey for me of coming to terms with my hair loss. It started with feelings of insecurity, fear, and shame. But this journey took me to the place where I'm now feeling confident, full of self-love, and I know I'm going to go fully bald soon, and I'm fine with it. Most YouTube videos that I watched didn't help me. They were either trying to sell me some shitty hair growth product or telling me to just get over it. To which I thought, oh, if only I didn't think of that beforehand. But obviously they didn't help me. This video is going to help you to address hair loss on a much deeper level. And I want you to finish this video feeling confident and assured in yourself, like I've managed to do so. I'm going to share with you some key mentality shifts that I wish I was told earlier. And then I'm going to share some very practical steps on what you can do to deal with hair loss. I remember last year taking part in a discussion group about aging and the effects of aging in the body. And this was about the time where I was struggling with that insecurity about my hair loss. So I remember saying to myself, this would be a good opportunity for me to share this insecurity with other people and to share some vulnerability. So I remember I was in a group with some older women and I went straight into it and I said, yeah, I can relate to this because I've been really struggling to come to terms with losing my hair. And I remember their reaction, they literally just started laughing at me as if to say, what kind of problem is that? How would you know anything about the effects of aging as a 20-something-year-old? And I remember that felt quite hurtful to me because in my head it was like, I know this isn't really a problem. Like in a way it's kind of like a first world problem, but it's still a deep insecurity of mine and I can't just turn it off like that. So the first thing I want you to know is that most men who go through balding will also really struggle with it on some level. And if this is you, the reason for this is because balding activates some of your deepest fears as a human being. Most men will only act on the surface level. So they might notice that they're balding, they'll feel some insecurity, and then they'll try and go and do something about it, get on monoxodil or finasteride. The problem with this is it doesn't really address the deeper insecurity. And so these men will then live on with this insecurity forever. I'm going to talk about these hair growth treatments later and why I think you shouldn't try and prevent hair loss. But first, I'm going to tell you some things which are much more helpful. The most helpful thing that you can do to deal with this problem of hair loss is to find out what's really underneath this fear. For me, the deepest fear I had was I'm scared that if I go bald, then no woman will love me and I'll be alone forever. It sounds quite silly when I say it out loud, doesn't it? But I guarantee for a lot of young guys watching this, that's the deepest fear that they're also facing too. I used to joke with my friend Ahmed that we need to race to get married before we go bald, because once you're married, your wife's going to be stuck with you and she can't leave you. And it was just a joke, but I think there is some truth in that. And it is a completely normal thing to be scared about losing your attractiveness. For me, what helped me to overcome this fear was asking myself the question, are there bald guys who get girls? Obviously the answer is yes. Are there girls who are into bald guys? Obviously the answer is yes. And so internalizing those two things inside of me really helped me to overcome this fear of losing my attractiveness. So what's the deepest fear for you? You can find it out by finishing off this sentence. I'm scared that if I go bald, then... finish the sentence. For you, it might be, I'm scared that if I go bald, then I won't have anything else going on for me because all I've got at the minute is my looks. And this is a common one for young people because when you're young, your looks form a big part of who you are and your dating prospects. Another deep fear for you might be that balding is a reminder of your aging and impermanence. This is a really deep one. I know for me, I had this belief that things will always improve in life with time and effort. So if I put effort into something, it'll always get better with time. And if I don't put effort into it, at the very least, it'll just stay the same. But hair loss was the opposite of this. It was like, if I don't do anything, things are just going to get worse with time and I don't have much control over that. that was really hard to come to terms with. Other deep fears going on for me. I'm scared that if I go bald, then people will love me less and respect me less. The way I overcame this one is I really thought to myself about the people in my life who I love that are also bald. And I thought to myself, I've got so much love and respect for these people, and the fact that they're bald doesn't influence that at all. In fact, like, I don't even think of them as bald people. I just think of them as people that I really love, and the fact that they're bald is a kind of afterthought. This links on to the final point I want to make about mindset, which is that no one cares about your hair or your body image as much as you do. I know this one is one of those that's quite easy to logically accept but hard to emotionally accept, so I'm going to come back to it later. And now I'm going to share with you some very practical steps that you can do to deal with hair loss. So if your hair's about this length or a little bit longer, the number one advice I would give to you is go and get a buzz cut. I did this at the start of this year and it was really helpful for me. I remember going to the barbers and saying to the barber, I really hate how I'm losing my hair, so I just want to buzz it off. And the barber was like, yeah, let's do it. So he got the grade 3 clipper and he started buzzing my hair, and as soon as I saw just the first piece of hair come off, I instantly regretted it. You know that feeling when you're at the barber shop and you start seeing some hair come off and you're like, what have I just done? I felt like that. And for the first few days, it was really weird seeing myself in the mirror. But after that, it felt completely normal. I remember my first time going to see my friends after buzzing my hair and expecting them to have this big reaction like, oh my God, you just buzzed your hair. But they literally were just like, oh yeah, it looks cool on you, man. And never mentioned it again. So again, that links to that point that no one cares about your hair or your body image as much as you do. I remember at the time I was going through a breakup, and so I was feeling quite insecure about my own attractiveness and how attractive I was to other people. So one thing that I did, and this is the next thing I'm going to share, it's a bit of a weird tip, but I remember that I would come out of the shower, I would look in the mirror and I'd say to myself, you look fucking sick. And I just say this to myself over and over again, you look fucking sick, you look fucking sick. And eventually I just internalized this belief that I look really good with a buzz cut. And soon enough I started to get more positive attention from girls. So this is a weird tip, but I definitely recommend it if you're struggling with this. So just look in the mirror and say to yourself, you look fucking sick, until you believe it. So those are some practical steps. And now I'll come on to the question, why don't you try monoxodil or getting a hair transplant or SMP or whatever bullshit treatment is available nowadays? And what I say to this is, if you try and fight hair loss, it will always be an insecurity for you. If you're looking into these kind of treatments, then really take some time to think about this. If you try and fight hair loss, it will always be an insecurity for you. The other thing is that these hair growth treatments are all impermanent anyways. So you're going to have to come to terms with the fact that you're balding sooner or later. It's better to just embrace it now. I remember seeing a post on Reddit about monoxodil where someone was saying, I've been using monoxodil for a few months, but now my hair started to fall out again. And one of the guys in the comments was saying, oh, that's because you need to be doing other stuff along with the monoxodil. You need to be doing a handstand after you come out of the shower every day so that the water can drain out of your hair. And I remember just thinking to myself, wouldn't it be so much easier to just embrace your hair loss instead of going through all these lengths to try and fight it? Every bald guy that I've spoken to for advice about this has literally said the same thing, which is to just embrace it and own it. I promise you, you'll be so much better off if you do that. At this point in the video, I just want to say, if you found this video helpful so far, then please go down and leave a like. I don't like asking for people to like my video, but it really does help me to grow my channel, and it'll allow us to help so many more young people on their journey. So go down and leave a like right now. The last thing I want to say is that dealing with hair loss or any other body image issue is an ongoing thing. It's usually not the case that in one day you can just completely let go of it like that and you'll never feel the insecurity again. It's probably the case that in future something might trigger you again to feel more self-conscious about your hairline. And that's totally alright. I just want to say, be kind to yourself when it arises, and remember, you look fucking sick. To end this video off, you know what I'm going to say. Don't take yourself too seriously. Thanks for watching.